Okay, picture this. There's this digital monster, right? But it's not hiding in some remote server farm. Nope. It's hiding in plain sight, right in your living room. Today, we're going to talk about a botnet that completely changed the rules of the game.
So let me start with a question for you. What's more popular than Google? Go on, take a guess.
You're probably thinking of, I don't know, another huge tech company, right? Well, for a very brief, very weird period in late 2025, the answer was this ridiculously long string of text. I mean, look at it. 14 Amelia Terrace West Roxbury Maz 02132.su. What in the world is that?
Well, that bizarre domain, it was actually the command and control server for a brand new botnet. The fact that it for a moment actually topped Google in global domain rankings, that was the first massive red flag for security researchers at XLab. They knew something huge was going on.
So the researchers gave it a name, Kimwolf. The wolf part is pretty straightforward. It comes from a common security tool it uses called the Wolf SSL library. But what you really need to know is that Kimwolf is a hyper-scale botnet. We're talking a massive army of infected devices on a scale we've rarely seen before. And it was mostly targeting Android TV boxes. Okay, so how big is this army of devices? Well, when you see the numbers, you'll start to understand the sheer, terrifying power of the Kimwolf botnet.
Get this. Researchers estimate, conservatively, that over 1.8 million devices are infected around the globe. And I have to stress, that's the low estimate. See, these devices are constantly changing their IP addresses, which makes them really hard to track. So the real number? It's probably way, way higher.
So what can an army of almost 2 million devices actually do? Well, for starters, it can launch a DDoS attack, that's a distributed denial of service attack, with a potential force of 30 terabits per second. To put that into perspective for you, that is enough raw firepower to knock almost any website you can think of completely off the internet. And this botnet, it wasn't just powerful, it was erratic, kind of crazy actually. Over one bizarre 3-day stretch, it issued 1.7 billion with a B DDoS attack commands. It was just spraying the entire internet. This wasn't some surgical targeted attack. No, this was just a massive, chaotic show of force. And don't think for a second this is some far-off regional problem. Kimwolf is everywhere. It's got a huge global footprint. We're seeing major infections in Brazil, India, right here in the US, Argentina, South Africa, you name it. This thing is inside homes all across the planet. So the big question is, how did it get so big, so fast? And this, my friends, is where the story gets really interesting and honestly kind of terrifying. The way it spreads is like a modern-day Trojan horse, except it's one you literally invite right into your house without even knowing it. It all comes down to something called a residential proxy network. Okay, so here's how that works. It's a service that lets someone route their internet traffic through your device, through your home internet connection. It's often bundled into sketchy free apps or even pre-installed on cheap gadgets. You, the owner of the device, usually have no clue that your internet is being used by a total stranger to hide their real location. And this is exactly how Kimwolf turns that proxy network into a weapon. So let's say a friend comes over and connects to your Wi-Fi. If their phone has one of these sneaky proxy apps, hackers can use it as a secret gateway. They actually tunnel backwards through your friend's phone straight into your private home network. And once they're inside, they start looking around for other vulnerable devices, your smart TV, that digital photo frame, and they infect them from the inside, totally blowing past your firewall. It's exactly like your guest accidentally leaving the front door unlocked for a crew of burglars. So why is it so ridiculously easy for them? Well, it's because of a huge critical vulnerability. A ton of these cheap Android TV boxes and other smart gadgets, they ship right from the factory with a powerful developer tool enabled. It's called the Android Debug Bridge, or ADB. And the key thing here is that this tool gives attackers full administrative access. I mean, the keys to the kingdom, with no password required. It's a digital backdoor that's been left wide open from day one. All right, so once the security world figured out what was going on, it kicked off this crazy, high-stakes game of cat and mouse to try and take Kimwolf down. And this whole struggle played out over just a few intense weeks. So on December 4th, a command server gets taken down. Victory, right? Nope. Just a week later, Kim Wolf adopts. It upgrades to use blockchain-based ENS domains, which are way harder to shut down because they aren't controlled by any one single entity. So researchers then go and notify the proxy providers, and by the end of the month, one of the big ones, IP-IDEA, manages to patch its network. But believe me, this fight is a long way from over. And the guys behind Kim Wolf? Oh, they've got a personality all right, and it is not a friendly one. Researchers started finding these little taunts and jokes embedded right inside the malware's code, like this one, Krebs' Five-Head Fan Club. That's a super weird and direct shot at the famous security journalist Brian Krebs. They were also just incredibly arrogant. After one of their servers got shut down, they just updated their whole system and left this little note for the researchers. "We have hundreds of servers. Keep trying, LOL." I mean, the nerve. They were confident, and you know what? They had every reason to be. Okay, so this brings us to the most important question of all. What does any of this have to do with you? Why should you care? And what can you actually do to protect your own home network? So here are the big red flags you need to look out for, especially if you're shopping for one of these smart TV boxes. Is it from some weird, no-name brand you've never heard of? Is the price just way too good to be true? Is it being sold as a magic box that gets you free subscription content? Does it ask you to download apps from some unofficial app store? If you're nodding your head to any of these, yeah, you might have a problem on your hands. And just to be super specific, researchers have actually identified some of the models that show up again and again in the Kim Wolf botnet. We're talking about devices like the Superbox, the X96Q, and the other names you see here. The advice from security experts is blunt. If you own one of these, just unplug it from your network. Period. Full stop. You know, this whole thing really leads to a final, pretty critical thought. For decades, we've thought about our home network security like it's a castle, right? With a big firewall to keep all the bad guys out. But what Kim Wolf shows us is that the game has completely changed. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Your firewall is great at protecting you from the outside, but who's protecting you from the inside?